specification. So in this video, I'm going to discuss the introduction of this, what is an algorithm, then definition of the algorithm, then justification with examples, and active areas of research in the algorithm, algorithm specification, and some of the examples I'm going to discuss. So to know what is an algorithm, the word algorithm comes from the name of a Persian mathematician, Abu Jafar Muhammad bin Musa al-Khwarizmi. Okay, it's quite difficult to pronounce, but because of this person, we have got the name word algorithm. Of course, most of we have gone through, or you have already learned C language. So one of the steps in learning C language is learning algorithm and flowchart for every program. So there you have learned that algorithm is a step-by-step procedure to solve a problem, or it is a sequence of steps to get the solution. But definitely algorithm is not a solution, it is sequence of steps to get the solution. So when a problem is given, if we know how to solve that problem, that knowing itself will become the algorithm, or it is a procedure, and then we can convert that algorithm to a computer program, and then we can give the input to the computer to that program, then we get the output. This is the normal way how the algorithm works. So there are 100 number of definition from different books on algorithmics, algorithm is a sequence of unambiguous steps, unambiguous instructions to solve a problem from the legitimate input to the required output. Like that, there are many definitions. We will stick up to the textbook. Okay, the definition of the algorithm goes like this, that is, an algorithm is a finite set of instructions that, if followed, accomplishes a particular task. This particular task is the problem what we are having in our mind. Okay, so in addition, the algorithm must satisfy the following criteria. This comes under definition itself. These criteria are input, output, definiteness, finiteness, and effectiveness. So algorithm takes 0 or more number of inputs, and they should be supplied externally, and they should be specified correctly that for these inputs this algorithm is going to work. That is one of the important criteria the algorithm follows. And the output, there will be at least one quantity of output that will be produced from the algorithm. Otherwise there is no use of algorithm, so it must produce at least one output. Okay, the third one is definiteness. Each instruction in the algorithm should be clear and unambiguous. It means that there should not be any confusion. Say for example, add or subtract. This is not a definite statement. Either it is addition or it is subtraction. So every instruction in the algorithm must be definite. Okay, and fourth one is finiteness. If we trace out the instruction of an algorithm, then for all the cases the algorithm must terminate, and it terminates after finite number of steps. It is very important that algorithm should come to an end. Okay, that is, once you give the input, after number of some iterations or recursiveness, then it must come to an end. Then only the algorithm satisfy the criteria. The last one is effectiveness. Every instruction must be very basic so that it can be carried out in principle by a person using pen and paper or pencil and paper. It means that there should not be any ambiguity. It is the combination of third and fourth, that is, there should not be any ambiguity and there should be finiteness, then only it will be effective. That is, if a person manually tries to solve a problem using that algorithm, it should give the result. Okay, so we will see all these criteria with an example. Say for example, we know how to calculate the GCD of two numbers. The greatest common divisor of two non-negative, not both 0. See that I am specifying the inputs very carefully, that is non-negative, not both 0, and they are the integers, not real numbers. m and n denoted by GCD of m and n is the largest integer that divides both m and n evenly. Evenly means there is no remainder, that is the remainder is equal to 0. If both the numbers are divided by a largest number without any remainder, then that number will be the GCD of these two integers, right? So there are many methods of finding the GCD of two numbers. We will go for one particular method, that is Euclid's method of finding GCD of two integers, who found it very long back. And according to Euclid's method, GCD of m comma n is equal to GCD of n comma m mod n until m mod n is equal to 0, meaning that we are going to calculate m mod n, that is divide m by n. Whatever the remainder we get, that will be assigned to n, and the earlier value of n is assigned to m now in the second iteration, and this is going to happen until m mod n will become equal to 0, because GCD of m comma 0 will be equal to m. Say 10 comma 0, GCD of 10 comma 0 is 10, GCD of 7 comma 0 is 7, like that. Okay, but what is the procedure here? We have to assign n to m and we have to find m mod n iteratively. Okay, say for example, GCD of 60 comma 24 is equal to divide 60 by 24, what is the remainder? 12, so that will become the n, and earlier n was 24, so it will become m. So in the second iteration it will be GCD of 24 comma 12, that will be equal to again 24 divided by 12, the remainder is 0, so that will become n, and earlier n was 12, so it will be m now. So GCD of 12 comma 0 is 12, so ultimately GCD of 60 comma 24 is equal to 12. Even if we try it for a very larger number, definitely we get the proper results. So this is GCD of finding GCD of two numbers using Euclid's method. Now we will try to develop an algorithm for this. Okay, see that on left side and right side I have written two same algorithms in a different notations. In the first one we have written in English like sentences, and in the second one we have written it using pseudocode. Okay, I'll come to that point later, but let us see. The step one is if n is equal to 0, if the second integer is 0, then it means that m itself is the GCD of two numbers and we are going to stop. Otherwise we are going for the step 2, that is the algorithm. Step 2, what we are going to do is we are going to divide m by n, assign the value of the remainder to one variable, say it is r. Then in the step 3, assign the value of n to m and the value of r to n, whatever just we have followed, and we are going back to step 1 till we get n is equal to 0. These steps will be repeated. So this is one way of specifying the algorithm. And the second one is we have written the pseudocode, where pseudocode means it is the combination of English like sentences or natural language plus a programming language. As every one of you have already learned C programming, it is not difficult to understand. We are using the while loop here. While n is not equal to 0, what we are going to do is we are going to find m mod n, we are going to assign it to r, then n is assigned to m and r is assigned to n till n will become equal to 0, and at the end we are going to return the value of m, that will be the GCD of two numbers. See all the 5 criteria what we had defined in the definition of algorithm will meet here or not. The first one was input. It will take one or more input. Here it is taking 2 specific inputs which are both 0, not positive integers. So it is taking 2 inputs. Output, definitely it is producing the output, that is the GCD of two numbers. The third criteria was definiteness. See that is there any ambiguity in any of the statement. Say if we go for the pseudocode, while n is not equal to 0, there is no ambiguity. Calculating m mod n, assign it to r, n assigned to m, are assigned to n, there is no ambiguity. In this left side algorithm, which is step by step procedure, here also there is no ambiguity in any step. So definiteness is fulfilled. We have to see the finiteness. Finiteness means it is going to come, this algorithm is going to come to an end. Say the second term, which is m mod n, is going to decrease in every step eventually, right? Whatever the big number you take, okay, definitely it is going to decrease. So second number of the pair gets smaller with each iteration. It can become, and it will never become negative, because at the end it is going to become 0. So indeed the new value of n on the next iteration is m mod n, which will be smaller than the previous iteration value. So it is going to become smaller and so on eventually. Hence the value of the second number in the pair eventually becomes 0 and the algorithm stops. So finiteness is also fulfilled. Fourth criteria is definiteness. There is no ambiguity and there is finiteness, and we can solve this using pen and paper. If we apply the algorithm on any two large integers, definitely we can execute it. So the last criteria is also fulfilled for this algorithm. We will see some other algorithms for finding the GCD of two numbers. For the same problem, we will see some other algorithms. Say there is one more algorithm which is called consecutive integer checking algorithm. In the step 1, here we are going to assign the value of minimum of m comma n, whatever the value of minimum is there. Say it is 60 comma 24. Say in that minimum is 24. We are going to assign it to a temporary variable, say it is t. Then divide m by t. Divide the first number by t. Say 60 divided by 24. If the remainder is 0, we have to go to step 3, otherwise we need to go to step 4. Say 60 divided by 4 is not 0, we get the remainder 12. So we are going to step 4, that is decrease the value by 1, that is value of t by 1, that is 24 is decreased to 23, in like that. Say if it is 0, we are going for the step 3, divide n by t. If this is also 0, then both of the numbers are divided evenly, there is no remainder, so that number itself is the GCD of two numbers. Otherwise we need to go to step 2, that is we have to decrease the value of t, 23, and then we have to go back to step 2. Again we need to do the division. Okay, so again 23 will not divide both the numbers evenly. Again we are going to decrease it to 22, so on up to 12. Once we get the value of 12, okay, by decreasing in every step, definitely 12 will divide 60 and 24 evenly, and 12 will become the GCD of two numbers, these two, 60 and 24. But if we see the 5 criteria, whether they are going to meet for this algorithm or not. Say first one is input, definitely there are 2 inputs, it is fine. See that if one of the input is 0, say n is equal to 0, what will happen? We cannot divide 0 by t, and we cannot assign the 0 to t, and 0 will become the GCD of two numbers. Say assign the value of minimum of n comma n, that is say 24 comma 0 to t, then 0 will be the GCD of 24 comma 0. So this algorithm fails for the first criteria itself. Okay, so this algorithm will not work when one of the input is 0. So other criteria like definiteness will not come for this. So this algorithm fails to fulfill those 5 criteria. We will see one more algorithm for finding the GCD of two numbers itself, which we have learnt in our middle schools. So we can call it as middle school procedure to find the GCD of two integers. So what we used to do there was we used to find the prime factors of the first number. Say if 60 is the prime factor, we divide 60 by 2, then we get 30, then again we divide it by 2, then we get 15, then we divide this 15 by 3, we get 5, 5 divided by 5, that is 1. Okay, so what are the different prime factors of 60? 2, 2, 3 and 5. Then the step 2 is find the prime factors of n, that is 24. Say 24 divided by 2, 12, again 12 is divided by 2, 6, again 6 is divided by 2, we get the 3, then 3 divided by 3 is 1. So the prime factors of 24 are 2, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2 and 3. Then the third step is identify all the common factors in the prime expansion. Say in this one, 2, 2, 3 are the common prime factors. Okay, then the step 4 is compute the product of these, 2 into 2 into 3, that is 2 into 2 is 4, 4 into 3 is 12. So 12 is the GCD of two numbers. Definitely this method is working fine, but whether it fulfills the criteria, all 5 criteria, no, because there is no definiteness in the first 2 steps. There is ambiguity in the first 2 steps, that is we don't know the procedure how we are going to find the prime factors of m. Of course there may be some algorithms, but we need to call those algorithms now, and we have not defined those algorithms to find the prime factors. So there is an ambiguity in the step 1 and step 2, right? So this algorithm fails to fulfill the criteria of definiteness. So again this algorithm is not a valid algorithm because it is not according to the criteria 3. So whenever we define a new algorithm for a problem, or if we are studying a algorithm, then we should see that whether that procedural way to fulfill the task is satisfying all these criteria or not. So those criteria, again I am reiterating, they are input. It may take 0 or more inputs. It must produce at least one output. Third one is definiteness. It should, every instruction in the algorithm should be definite and there should not be ambiguity in that. The fourth one is finiteness. I still have not discussed the finiteness about finiteness, because every algorithm should come to an end. It means that, say we are going to develop an algorithm for playing the chess game. Assume this, there are so many decisions to be taken to win the chess game. Assume this, say if those decisions are dependent on the other end move, then it must not take say 100 years of time. It should be some speculated time. Okay, in restricted time it should come to an end. So we cannot consider such algorithms. Okay, so finiteness should be there and effectiveness should be there. Manually you can solve, you should be able to solve some for some particular data set on that algorithm. So these are the things we should take care of. So the next point we need to discuss is what are the active areas of research in this, because just now you are going to start learning algorithmics. What are the things once you learn this, where it is going to help you? Okay, how to devise an algorithm. This task cannot be automated. It is a skilled task. It is an art. Designing an algorithm for a problem is an art, right? You cannot automate it all the time. So we need there are some proved techniques of designing the algorithm. We are going to learn throughout the syllabus, like divide and conquer, dynamic programming, backtracking. So there are many methods of designing the algorithm techniques. We need to know them, and by learning those, once we get the mastery over those techniques, then once a new problem is given, which technique we can apply to devise a solution for that problem, that we can decide. So devising an algorithm for a new problem is a challenging research area. There are still many problems which needs to be solved. Okay, so By learning these set of techniques and many algorithms in these techniques, we will be able to have the knowledge to devise a new algorithm for problems. The second one is validate the algorithm. We need to check the correctness of the algorithm for the set of data. For any legitimate or legal inputs, whether this algorithm works or not. Okay, we should be able to check the validity of the algorithm. Okay, it may come with a two-step procedure. Okay, that is sometimes we may also call it as program verification once the algorithm is converted to program. So for legal inputs, it should be able to produce the proper output. The algorithm should be able to produce the proper output. Sometimes validating an algorithm will take more time rather than implementing the algorithm to a program. So this is also one of the vast area of research. The third one is analyzing the algorithm. Say ultimately we are thinking of designing the algorithms for the computers for any particular problems. So the main resources of the computer are storage space and CPU time. So we should be able to analyze the algorithm for these two important resources. That is, one is storage space, how much extra storage space, either it may be main memory or auxiliary memory. Okay, how much extra space algorithm requires. Okay, that is one of the very important thing we need to analyze related to the algorithm. The second one is how much time it computes. Independent of the programming language, what we are going to use to convert this algorithm to program, how much time it is going to take, not necessarily in terms of seconds or milliseconds or microseconds. Okay, for the range of inputs, how much time it may take, we should be able to prove that. Once we are able to analyze the algorithm based on these time, then we will be able to select the different available algorithms for the particular input what we are thinking to solve a problem. Okay, so analyzing the algorithm is again a challenging task. Okay, that is also one of the research area. The last one is test a program. Once the algorithm is converted to program, the previous two steps will combine together, is called testing the program. So it comes on with debugging and profiling. Debugging means for range of inputs, whether algorithm is working correctly or not, checking this. If it is not working, then correcting that one. Okay, so these four are very important areas of research in algorithms. Okay, throughout the syllabus we are going to learn the design and analysis of algorithm, which will help us to go for these research areas. So the last bit of this video I am going to discuss here, that is algorithm specification. How we can specify the algorithm? Definitely algorithm is not a program. Program is the implementation of the idea what the algorithm is giving. Okay, so definitely algorithm is not the program. So once we have an idea of designing something, designing a solution for a problem, then how we can present it, that is specification. Usually algorithms can be presented in pseudocode. Also we can present that in the natural languages like English or any local language, like step-by-step procedure. Okay, but every step or every instruction should be non-ambiguous or unambiguous. The second way of presenting it is a flow chart. The drawback of presenting in natural language is the implementing team should be able to understand what is specified in natural language. That will be a problem. Okay, but anyhow we can use natural language to present the algorithm. The second one is flow chart. Again, if the solution is small, we can definitely convert it to a graphical representation like flow chart, which we have already learned while learning C. But if the solution of the problem is too big, then it is quite difficult to draw the flow chart. That is one drawback of it. But definitely it is one of the tools to present the algorithm. The third one is most used, which is a mixture of programming language and English like any natural language. Here it will not be completely programming code, and it is not completely natural language. Usually definitely people will be knowing C language, because which will be learned from the schooling days nowadays. Okay, so if it is a mixture of these two, then definitely one can implementers can understand the design idea, that is the algorithm, very easily. So most of the people will prefer to use pseudocode while writing the algorithm. So this is how we can specify the algorithms. We will see the same example what we had discussed. Say, to present the Euclid's algorithm for finding GCD of two numbers, we had presented that in two ways. One is using English language, and the second one is pseudocode. The first one, the step 1, step 2, step 3 here on the left side is using English like language, that is natural language, and second one is pseudocode, which consists which is a mixture of programming language and English language. So this is how we can specify the algorithms. These are the just basics or the first bit of the syllabus. We will go further for all these topics just introduced in detail in the coming classes. Thank you.